It's Inteleon versus Rillaboom for you on the Stabilize. Welcome back, everyone, to more from the Stabilize. I'm here today with Jordan. How are we doing, Jordan?
Not too bad, Mitch.
That is good, and we're looking at Inteleon VMAX, which we featured in our deck profile yesterday, up against Rillaboom, which is being played by Blake on the right-hand side. Now, Jordan, in the lead-up to this game, we had a bit of a conversation about it, and I think this is going to be really tough for Inteleon.
Well, you'd think that, but I think there's two things that are going for Inteleon really well. One of them is that it plays ADP, and that card's insane. And the second one is that it's playing against another Stage 2 Pokemon. And if you saw the last gameplay video we had on the channel, that didn't go too well for Blake, so we'll see if he's able to set his board up a little better this time.
We certainly will. So, looks like I've managed to start ADP, and Blake has started with the, what's it called? The baby boy. Grookey, there it is. Blake going first is going to be a big deal, though. It means that he's going to be able to get his board set up early, and that tag call is really strong. It means he's going to be able to pick up his Exeggutor and Alolan Exeggutor Rowlet, which is going to be able to evolve that Grookey ASAP. Since he's going first, it means that ADP also needs 2 turns to set up the extra damage and the extra prize.
Yeah, unlike ADP's Arceus, there's no way, I believe, for this deck to cheat and get like a turn 1 GX attack with a Metal Patch plus an E-Switch, so it is just going to be 2 manual attachments. And yeah, unlike the Colossal deck that we saw last time, I feel like Blake's got a bit of a better chance of actually getting his Stage 2s into play thanks to that Rowlet and Exeggutor tag team being able to search your deck straight away for the Stage 2 line and put it into play. That's going to make Blake's setup probably a little more aggressive. And aggression is a pretty good way to deal with ADP. Just let them sit there, use their GX attack, but take 3 easy prizes on them is a pretty good strategy.
It does seem pretty strong. I've managed to find myself a quick ball here to grab an Inteleon V and a Greens Exploration. So I've had a relatively good start here as well, grabbing the Energy Spinner and just having a think about what that next card could be. I'm going to grab another Greens Exploration here. Good to have just the option to find those extra trainers as you go. And since I am going second, I get to grab 3 energies off of this Energy Spinner. So I'm set and ready to attach those energies to ADP, but I will find myself falling behind a little bit. Obviously, Blake going to be able to get that Rillaboom into play really quickly.
Yeah, he's going to get the Rillaboom into play. I don't think he has an easy way to like one-hit KO this ADP, which I think would be the really scary thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you were saying that the Rillaboom VMAX does cap at exactly 280 damage, so if you can find yourself a big chunk on that ADP, then it's going to be immune to being one-hit KO'd, which is definitely an important factor.
It certainly is, but apart from that, I think that's all that I'm realistically going to be able to do this turn. We'll just attach that water energy and go from there. Blake's got Green's Exploration of his own here, so he'll be able to search out 2 item cards, and this is really bad for me because he could potentially grab out the oh look, he's gone for the netball and the new Turffield Stadium, so he's going to be able to find either a basic and a grass energy with this netball, and with Turffield Stadium he'll be able to find a Stage 2 Rillaboom to potentially evolve into that Voltage Beat this turn, which means that Blake could potentially be doing 150 damage to me before I even get my GX attack off here, and that would be horrific. There's the rare candy, so it looks like the Rillaboom is going to be coming into play here, and that Voltage Beat going into the Alolan Exeggutor and Rowlet means now, even if I do get the Altered Creation off, I'm still going to need to attach 3 energy manually to do any reasonable damage with Inteleon, and Blake is going to be healing that ADP, not the ADP, the Eggrow every turn when it does 150 damage.
Forget everything I said about Rillaboom not being able to get into play very easily. Blake didn't even have to use his attack to set it up. He's actually just got the rare candy and the Rillaboom. I actually didn't realize that the Turffield Stadium allowed you to get Evolution Grass Pokemon, so that's a really cool card actually.
Yeah, it seems super good. At least that's what Blake's interpretation of the card was. I'm sure he's correct. I mean,
let's hope so.
I haven't read the card because I didn't make the deck, but I presume he knows what it does. But yeah, no, very, very strong, and now 150 damage on the ADP.
Yeah, so this is a lot worse than what I was expecting. I was expecting this turn Blake to use his attack to set up his Rillaboom, and then next turn he'd be taking the half hit on the ADP, whereas he's getting the half hit on the ADP right now, which is really bad because it means that your ADP is going to be going down for sure next turn, rather than, I feel like if he hadn't done that, you could have just used that Green's Exploration in your hand to get yourself something like the big charm that would have made sure that your ADP survives. Now, I almost wonder, is it even worth, like, oh, I guess it's too late now to change your strategy, but was it worth actually going for that ADP GX attack now that we know Blake is pulling off this aggression? He's going to get 3 prizes ahead. I wonder if just powering up an Inteleon straight away would have been the better strategy. Obviously, it's impossible to know that Blake's start was going to be this good. But yeah, we don't have an Aqua Patch in the format anymore, so it's not going to be a random attacker out of nowhere like you're used to seeing from Zacian. So it's going to be pretty hard for you to get attackers into play. We'll have to see what this Green's Exploration is able to net you this time.
Yeah, and I can tell you right now, Jordan, that from that moment on, I was like, okay, well, all of my strategies have just gone out the window. I'm trying to decide now whether it's even worth using the GX attack with ADP. Obviously, it's very strong, but does it actually achieve anything for me here? My deck's obviously built around removing energy, and with Voltage Beat in play on the second turn of the game, it means that removing that energy is not going to be quite as valuable. The good thing that I've got going for me is that, in theory, if I can get my Inteleon powered up, I should be able to take a 2-hit knockout on this Eggrow and go up and earn myself 3 prizes. But I think now I'm just in such an awkward spot, and you can tell by the amount of time that I'm taking to search for this on this Green's Exploration. I've got almost no idea how to respond to this.
Well, I guess we got to think about like what your best option in terms of prize mapping is, because obviously the GX attack is still on the table for you this turn, so you could easily just attach the metal energy that's in your hand from last turn, go for that Altered Creation GX, and then you're still going to have to 2-hit KO the Ral Executor, but instead you're going to take 4 prize cards. So those 4 prize cards you take from the Ral Executor would mean you could just get a simple Gust to knock out that Rillaboom for the last 2 prize cards. So theoretically, using the GX attack would make it pretty easy for the one Inteleon V to take all 6 of your prize cards, since there's no way for Blake to get a knockout on it. But obviously the weakness of that is you're wasting an extra attachment onto that ADP, and you're going to be 1 turn slower at powering up that Inteleon. So looks like you're going for the switch, and the Evolution Incense might just be choosing to go on the aggressive here with that Inteleon, try and deny this this Ral Executor from taking any knockouts next turn.
Yeah, I think that's probably my best option. The other thing that I'm doing here by putting that energy back into Blake's hand is guaranteeing that Blake can't take the knockout with the GX attack, which would return all of the energy on the field to the deck as well. So it means that I've given Blake I've realistically given myself another turn to try and get my energy going here. But as you can see, the returning energy to the hand isn't that big of a deal. Doing 60 damage isn't that big of a deal when your opponent can accelerate energy and then also heal it, because remember that Eggrow's attack, whilst doing 150 damage, also heals 30, so anything that I do, Blake can effectively halve in 1 turn with 1 attack. So I've got to start getting this big attack into play, and Blake's managed to find himself one of his Rillaboom V, which has come down onto the field, and there's a VMAX coming from the Turffield Stadium. I really like this card. Hopefully it gets a chance to attack, but at the moment, Eggrow is pretty much all that needs to be working here.
Yeah, especially with that healing effect, healing 30 damage. I was just doing the maths, and after an Altered Creation, you can use the Inteleon VMAX to do 90 damage with the first attack, and then follow up with 190 from the second attack, which would easily get the knockout on that Ral Executor. But I think that thanks to that 30 damage heal, 190 plus only 60 after being hit by that first attack would not actually be enough to take the knockout. So that strategy isn't even going to work next game if you do get the GX attack off, and Blake is making sure that that's definitely not going to be happening this turn with that Great Catcher onto the ADP taking a knockout. I don't believe he has any way of like 1-hit KOing the Inteleon VMAX, fortunately, so you're not going to be in danger of losing next turn or anything. But he could just go for that GX attack with Ral Executor and remove all of your energy on the board, and all of a sudden he's going to be denying you of energy more than you are with this energy denial
Yeah,
deck.
exactly. So it's a pretty rough spot to be in. I'm going to Cynthia and Caitlin here and grab Green's Exploration back. I know I'm going to have another turn. The question is, am I going to be able to do anything realistically on those turns that I have? At the moment, I can potentially return an energy to Blake's hand this turn. I've got a reset stamp here so I can send Blake down to 3 cards. I've also managed to get the Wondrous Labyrinth here, so that again could potentially throw Blake's maths off with the amount of energy required. So we're in a reasonable spot here, but of course Blake will be able to attack with that Rillaboom on the bench. It's going to be easily able to accelerate that extra energy required.
Oh, if I know Blake, he's probably just going to drop another rare candy Rillaboom from his hand right now, and then he'll have access to 4 energy a turn.
No, even worse, he's thrown down the Life Forest, so now not only is he healing 30 damage, he's also healing another 60, so the 90 damage that's left on this Eggrow is going to be gone this turn. I'm going to be half hit with no way to respond. It's going to be pretty awkward.
I was just thinking if he could have pulled it off by getting a second Rillaboom into play, then he could actually go for that GX attack, remove both of your energy in play, and then I feel like the game's 100% over if he does that. But to be fair, it's probably 100% over already, even if you are allowed to use your big attack for 160 damage next turn. I don't see what that actually gains you. You get to soften something up on the bench, and then probably just get knocked out in return. So realistically, if he half hits this Inteleon, you're going to have to find access to another attacker that doesn't have damage. And I don't think your deck really has the potential to go into a new fresh attacker like that.
Now, it's not really designed for fluid movement between attackers, Jordan. This one's more hoping for the best, but a good thing here is I've managed to find an energy so I can potentially attack for 160 here and a 60 snipe to the bench. So if the worst case scenario happens where I can't do anything, I can at least take a prize on that Grookey that is sitting on the bench. So I won't get out of this one with nothing.
Do you remember how much damage the Rail Executor's GX attack does?
It does 200.
Okay, because right now, if he were to just use the regular attack again, it actually wouldn't even get the 2-hit KO on this Inteleon, which is pretty crazy. These things have so much HP. To think that 150 is not even a 2-hit KO is pretty insane, but that GX attack is going to make that pretty much irrelevant, and I think the Rillaboom V on the bench would have sealed things up even if the Rail Executor was not able to do so. So I imagine it's just going to be a GX attack from Blake here to close out the game in a match that I would not say was too close.
Yeah, no, that was a wildly bad matchup for Inteleon in that particular game. But on the plus side, this game I'll get to go first. So going second last game didn't really help. This time I get to go first. So as long as I can find ADP and an energy, I should be okay. And most of the time in these type of decks, it's relatively easy to do that. So we shouldn't be as bad a spot as we were in the first game.
Another thing that's interesting that happened right at the end of the game that I actually didn't realize, I think you actually just used that Inteleon VMAX to knock out the Grookey on the bench. So that would lead me to believe that Grookey actually only has 60 HP, is that right?
I'm not sure. I presume so, but it's kind of hard to see Blake's cards.
So
I would think so. I would think so.
Somehow you knocked out a Grookey on the bench with that Inteleon VMAX, so that could actually also be a pretty good route of play where you can actually just maybe deny these Grookeys. If you were to just snipe one on the bench for knockout, maybe even get a boss's orders to knock 2 Grookeys out at once. If you can somehow power up an Inteleon VMAX before Blake sets up Rillaboom, that could be like a really easy way to just completely deny Blake's strategy. Obviously, there's a lot to ask for that to happen, because A, we need Blake to draw significantly worse than he did in the first game, and B, you'd also have to actually get your Inteleon VMAX powered up pretty quickly, which is not going to happen, obviously, if you get the ideal route of going for the ADP GX attack. But it's definitely another idea to keep in mind. But no matter what idea you have in mind, it's not going to be good when you're giving Blake 2 extra cards to try and set up his Rillaboom just as quickly as last game.
That's alright. I've just looked it up whilst you've been talking there, Jordan. It actually does have 70 HP. There is a 60 HP version that is out, so it's not like it was an unreasonable assumption of me to think that it had 60 HP, but
well, maybe that's the one that Blake's playing.
Let's very quickly double check the I think it might be, to be fair. Let's figure this one out. But I've managed to start the ADP here, the tag call, which is good, so hopefully I've got an energy.
Well, the thing about Japanese cards is that the HP that's printed in the top corner is it's got English numbers there, so you'd think that Blake would be able to tell if it was getting knocked out or not.
That's the 60 HP one.
All right.
It's fine. We've done it. I did take a knockout.
I wonder if that was intentional decision from Blake to go with that Grookey, or if he just went with whichever one he found was available.
Oh,
I just don't know if this one has a good attack or anything like that. I guess if it does have a good attack, we might actually find out what it is this turn. Since he is going second this game, he can declare an attack turn 1 if he wanted to. So we'll see if he ends up hitting you with a Grookey. I noticed though, Mitch, you missed an attachment that turn, I believe.
Yeah, I did. I managed to find pretty much everything else that I needed, but no energy attachment, so I may as well be going second here. And what's even worse is that Blake has just gone greens netball switch, so I can tell you exactly what's going to happen here. We are going to see that Alolan Executor Rowlet come into the active, attack for free to evolve one of these Grookies into a Rillaboom, and we're in the exact same position that we were in last game, Jordan. It is not going to be a good one for Inteleon VMAX.
I disagree. I don't think you're in the same position as last game. I think you're in a worse position. Last time, you at least had energy in play at this point of the game.
That is true. I at least had an energy. But yeah, here it comes. So we've got another netball from Blake. Everything going well on his side of the field. He's got a Rillaboom V, and this Alolan Executor Rowlet is evolving that Grookey into a Thwackey, into a Rillaboom. So now Blake is so well set up. I've got a Cryogonal in the active, so even if I want to attack, I'm going to need to find a way to retreat as well.
Honestly, if Blake hadn't gotten that monster start, that Cryogonal could actually be a pretty decent strategy here to just deny rare candy and switch for a couple turns. You could have actually potentially bought yourself at least maybe 2 or 3 turns if you were lucky with that Cryogonal, but obviously that didn't work out because Blake had a greens in his hand, so he was able to get everything he needed to set up that turn 1 Rillaboom. Wow, and that's just so scary to stare down, especially when you don't have an energy. I wonder, are you going to go for that ADP GX tag? It looks like that is going to be your priority. I was thinking maybe you might just have to go aggressive and go straight for that Inteleon VMAX once again, but that didn't really work out too well last game, so I think the ADP attack is going to be the way to go here. Interesting that you're switching into the ADP, maybe going for just the single GX attack effect, because I guess you don't really have that much time to go for the full effect, but I'm just trying to think whether that extra 30 damage is going to be that crucial. It looks like you are happy to go for that extra 30 damage. There are a couple of situations where I think it is good. Obviously, it allows you to get these 2 hit KOs even through the healing, which is pretty solid. Maybe not through Life Forest, but other than that, you should be getting 2 hit KOs most of the time. And I think being able to just 1 hit KO the Rillaboom on the bench could also be a potential win condition for you as well.
Yeah, that's my thought process, is that I need to knock out Rillabooms on the bench to be able to win this game, and in order to do that, I'm going to need to do 170 damage. Now, obviously, that's a long way off with Inteleon VMAX not even in the field of play, let alone having 3 energy attached to me, but I know for a fact that Blake is going to find it tough to take knockouts. He's only going to be able to do at most 200 damage, and if he uses the GX attack into this ADP here, I'm not going to be too upset about that. So I've got a little bit of time, but obviously that GX attack, the longer he doesn't use it, the more frustrating it's going to be for me. I'm going to have my energy removed if Blake does attack with that GX attack next turn.
Now, one thing I'm very quickly learning about this matchup is that this deck obviously is not designed with heaps of energy acceleration in mind. It's definitely taking the slow route and using the strategy of it's fine if I'm being slow, if I'm making my opponent slow as well. But I'm learning very quickly that when your opponent has a strategy to get around being slowed down by this energy denial, it's very easily going to be outpaced in damage output here.
Yeah, it's kind of a rough one. I've managed to find the Inteleon and a Water Energy. Not that that really matters, because Blake is going to be able to accelerate 3 energy onto the active here. 1 from his hand and 2 from the Rillaboom. And I've just had to pass here. There's not much else I can do. Blake going for another baby Rillaboom here from the Turffield Stadium. Maybe he's got a rare candy in hand to be able to evolve into another Rillaboom.
And there goes your main win condition in this game.
Yep, there comes 4 energy from the deck onto his Pokemon. So I think this one's pretty much wrapped up, Jordan. We may as well start doing the outro now.
It almost looks like it. I mean, it's almost unfortunate that you've actually got that big jump on the active, because it stops Blake from using that first attack to take the knockout. So you're almost forcing him to use that GX attack, which is definitely the attack you don't want him declaring this turn. If you ever were to get back into this game, you would almost certainly need to have that energy on the bench accessible for the rest of this game. So I guess it is good that it's getting out of the way when you only had 1 energy to go back into the deck. I mean, it's better doing it now than when you had a fully powered Inteleon that you spent 3 turns powering it up. But I feel like at this point it doesn't really matter when he used it. As long as he used it, it's probably going to be enough to seal the game.
Yeah, exactly. I've managed to get the Inteleon into the active now in the attacking position, but it's way too late with 9 energy on Blake's side of the field. I guess the only thing I can realistically do is hope that the last 3 of Blake's prizes are all grass energy and that he can't accelerate energy quickly enough to start attacking with Rillaboom VMAX. I've got myself a custom catcher here so that maybe, just maybe, I might be able to gust something up, but I mean, this Eggrow is going to do at least 150 damage to me this turn. It's going to stop me from dealing that not extra 90. We've got the Gust here, so I'll bring up a Rillaboom. Maybe I can just hit this twice, and hopefully from there something can happen, I guess.
I actually do see like maybe a small win condition here where this Gust might force Blake to waste all of his remaining energy in the deck to retreat. I was going to say that, but instead he's actually wasting the Malon Lana, which also could be pretty good for you because now you could potentially find another Gust card, bring up one of those Rillabooms, and maybe go for the Frozen Lock now that Blake has used his Malon Lana. He won't be able to use Switch if he doesn't have enough energy left in deck to retreat. That could potentially be the window of opportunity you have to get back into this game, locking that Rillaboom into the active. It's going to be tough, obviously, but without that Malon Lana in deck, there's a chance that he might not just have enough energy left in deck to retreat this Rillaboom, and it does seem as though he probably has most of his energy in play already. Looks like that might be the strategy you're going for here. You just need to find a Gust. Oh, it's the active.
Didn't manage to find it, so unfortunately, I'm just going to have to sacrifice my Cryogonal here. Blake will use Cynthia and Caitlin to grab himself that Malon Lana back. And now
the window of opportunity is gone forever.
Exactly, it is gone. There's no chance of it ever coming up again. And yeah, we're on the slow burn here to the finish. Blake obviously just needs 3 more prizes left to win this game. He's got plenty of...
He's even healing most of that damage.
I know. I know. How frustrating.
I'm very curious to know if that Gust Cryogonal strategy could have worked potentially. I obviously... there's no way you could have like saved the custom catches for the turn before, because if you had done that, then he could have just held onto the Malon Lana and it never would have worked. But if you were lucky enough to get that back-to-back Gust onto Rillaboom, I wonder maybe it could have been enough. I don't know. It's kind of hard to know. I think like he had like 6 energy on the active and maybe 4 on the bench, so it looked like he had a solid 10 energy in play. I doubt that he plays 10 energy and then another 3 to retreat a Rillaboom. So who knows? Maybe that could have been a potential win condition there, but that's not what happened. It looks like Blake is going to bring up that Rillaboom VMAX. I don't believe it can get the 1-hit KO on the Inteleon, but it's going to do enough that he probably can't survive next turn.
Yeah, exactly. Seeing 130 damage without activating the effect of that attack, so means that now I am not going to be able to do anything else realistically. It doesn't look like I've got any more Pokemon that I can Malon Lana into. There's no more Gust, no more Cryogonal plays. Pretty much all of my potential win conditions are gone here. I'll grab this this Wondrous Labyrinth and hope beyond hope that Blake can't get an extra energy into play, but I think there's already 5 on the Rillaboom anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I think the Wondrous Labyrinth is just a little bit of window dressing at this point. Doesn't really mean anything, but it certainly looks nice.
Maybe you could like Gust up the Rillaboom and hope that Blake has no switches left and no energy left to retreat and win by deck out. That's really the only thing I'd be able to think of to win this game. Obviously, I don't think it would work anyway because I'm pretty sure Blake has switches remaining. So it looks like it's just going to be the attack into the active, and I feel like that Inteleon's probably going to go down this turn.
Yeah, it certainly will. Blake doesn't even need to worry about the Wondrous Labyrinth, can replace it, burns all the energy, and takes his final 2 prizes. So there you go, Jordan. Not the best game for Inteleon VMAX, but certainly a good one for Rillaboom, and we'll be looking at that deck list tomorrow.
Yeah, it's definitely a good redemption arc for Blake, who actually managed to set up in Stage 2 and win the game this time.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you, Jordan, and we'll head through to the outro. Not the best time for Inteleon VMAX, but definitely good signs for Rillaboom. You can see that one tomorrow on the channel and check it out in our Rebel Clash playlist. Blake will run through that list for you. If you have enjoyed the content and you want to see more, then you feel free to subscribe. You can click the button that's just up here, all that kind of good stuff. Over here there are some videos. Down here there's a playlist. Up there's some socials. There's all sorts of stuff that you can do to follow along with our content. And apart from that, we will see you all next time for more from the Sable Eyes. Bye.